Now, Zimbabwe will hold its presidential elections on the 23rd of August this year. Two of the country's political parties, the ZANU PF, led by Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and the newly formed Citizens Coalition for Change, led by Nelson Chamisa, are seen as the main rivals leading to the polls. The proclamation of the election date by President Mnangagwa came as disagreements over electoral reforms raged on, with the CCC demanding access to and an audit of the voters' roll. The elections will be held amid a dark cloud of alleged corruption, economic and political challenges, and with President Mnangagwa promising free and fair elections. So for the latest, we joined on the line from Lusaka by Brian Sedze, Director of the Free Enterprise Initiative, who will be making his way to Harare, we understand. Brian, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for speaking to us here on Morning Live.
Thank you for having me.
Now, President Emmerson Mnangagwa proclaimed the 23rd of August as the election day. Firstly, before we even speak about the political actors, how are the citizens in Zimbabwe feeling about this date?
From what I've seen with the registration and the citizens' mood in general, is that people are ready to go out there and vote. I think that's basically the situation that is on the ground. And here in the cities, the new registered voters is quite a large number, which means people are ready to go out there and vote.
So we're only a few months off. At this point, of course, is there any clarity about the number of registered voters, as an example? Because all the contestation over the voters' roll and its authenticity is obviously something that will impact on the outcome of the election.
Numbers are being thrown around. If I may just clarify. One of the major issues that is of contestation in Zimbabwe is the voters' roll. But that's not where the genesis of the problem is. The genesis of the problem is also, we had the census, which results were just given to, the outcome which was given to us just in bits and pieces of information. Because that also feeds into both the voters' roll and the delimitation report. I will just tell you where the problem is with the delimitation report, if you may allow me to.
Please go ahead.
Especially here in Harare, there is a lot of confusion with delimitation, because I can foresee a situation where a person appears in a certain ward, and that ward has been transferred. There's been a lot of changes in polling stations and constituencies in Harare, such that the number of people that came to inspect the voters, which is about 1 million, wasn't enough, and people are going to get confused on the election day. Number two, we got an issue of the voters' roll. The failure to access by political players in a format, because they have just now said that they are going to give each participating member of parliament a voter's roll for his constituency. The failure to have it in a format that can be analyzed by data scientists is equivalent to having no voter's roll at all.
So, and as I was saying then, Brian, you cannot hope to have a free and fair election, because the integrity of the voters' roll is, of course, key to the ultimate outcome and acceptance of the election outcome.
We probably are going back to 2008 situation where 2018 situation where the electoral outcome is contested. The only time we didn't have a contested electoral outcome was in 2013. But by and large, no one is going to see these elections as free and fair, and no one believes that the elections are being held in a credible manner.
So when we look at the main protagonists, of course, we have ZANU PF and President Mnangagwa on the one end, and then you have Nelson Chamisa and the Citizens Coalition for Change. They will, of course, be contesting their first elections under this particular banner. The question for onlookers are, what is this CCC promising that is different as a splinter party from the movement for democratic change?
Political parties are givers of hope, or they are merchants of hope. These political manifestos, as far back as 2000 up until now, they've always evolved around the same things. And those same things are the problems that Zimbabweans have always faced. Shortage of energy, jobs, housing, sanitation, water, and access to seeds, fertilizer, corruption, and so forth and so forth. So the manifestos basically are the same, even for ZANU PF, even for MDC Alliance, even for CCC. Unfortunately, and very tragic, is that CCC has no manifesto. They've never said anything of what they are going to do. So they basically contesting this election, and they'll probably actually win it, but they're not winning it because they have told the voting people what they are going to do and how they are going to do it. They are going to vote, they probably win because of protest. People are simply protesting against the decay of the economy by ZANU PF. People are protesting against the decay of infrastructure under ZANU PF. People are protesting against the decay of moral fiber, things like corruption, crony capitalism, and so forth and so forth. But it's not because CC would have said that. CC basically is pretty silent, acting like a secret society in how it is conducting its affairs.
And just a final question, the leader of ZANU PF and, of course, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa, he's contesting for a second term in office. He took over power, as we remember, from the late President Robert Mugabe in a military coup. Now, he's an octogenarian at this point. How popular is he with the young members, not only within his party, but in Zimbabwe generally? Brian?
It's difficult to say, but people in Zimbabwe are suffering. I do not see how he can be popular. So his popularity is questionable. But it now depends on whether CCC is allowed to access rural voters and sell their manifesto in a free and fair manner, which is a thing that is becoming of question, because there is already an organization that is there in the rural areas, which is being said is intimidating rural voters, and they have entered into the inner core of the politics of Zimbabwe in a very murky way, and it is called the Forever Association of Zimbabwe.
Well, Brian, we'll have to leave it there for today, but thank you so much. And of course, SABC News will bring you much more in the run-up to the August 23 poll in Zimbabwe. And that was Brian Sedze, Director of the Free Enterprise Initiative, talking to us about the latest on the forthcoming Zimbabwe elections.